Have you ever watched your phone light up, seen someone's name flash across the screen, and felt your chest tighten before your mind even had time to form a thought? It's strange, isn't it? Logically, you know it's just a call, just a voice, just a conversation. And yet your body reacts like you've been summoned to a surprise exam you didn't study for. Maybe you let it ring. Maybe you flip the phone face down like it's suddenly radioactive. Maybe you text 5 minutes later with a casual, "Hey, what's up?" as if that was the plan all along. And you tell yourself a simple story. I'm just not a phone person. I don't like talking. I prefer texting. Case closed. But is it really that simple? Because here's the thing. Plenty of people who avoid phone calls can talk for hours with the right person. They can write thoughtful messages. They can debate ideas, share feelings, even give advice. So if it's not about communication itself, what is it about? Let me suggest something that might feel uncomfortably accurate. It's not about talking, it's about control. A phone call is immediate. It demands your presence now. You can't edit your words. You can't reread your sentence before it leaves your mouth. There's no backspace key for tone. Once you say it, it's out there, floating in the air between you and someone else. Texting, on the other hand, is like having a rehearsal room. You type, you pause, you delete, you soften a phrase, you add an emoji to cushion the impact, you think, you shape, you curate. Your brain loves that. There's a concept in psychology called cognitive load, which basically describes how much mental effort something requires in the moment. Real-time conversation is heavy on cognitive load. You're processing tone, meaning, facial cues if it's video, deciding what to say next, managing how you're coming across, all while the other person is waiting. It's mental juggling. Texting reduces that load, it gives you space, and space feels safe. Now here's where it gets more interesting. If you notice that you also overthink texts before sending them, replay conversations in your head afterward, or worry about whether you sounded weird or awkward, your avoidance of phone calls might not be random. It might be part of a larger pattern. Your nervous system prefers predictability. Phone calls are unpredictable by design. You don't know the tone. You don't know the topic. You don't know how long it will last. You don't know if it will turn into a request, a confrontation, an emotional unloading session, or a quick question that somehow becomes 30 minutes. Your brain, being the cautious little survival machine that it is, doesn't love that ambiguity. In fact, research in neuroscience shows that uncertainty activates the same threat circuits in the brain that physical danger can activate. Not to the same degree, of course, but enough to trigger tension. The amygdala, the brain's alarm system, lights up when outcomes are unclear. So when your phone rings, your body might react before you consciously think anything at all. A flicker of dread, a spike of adrenaline, a subtle thought, not now. And maybe you grew up in an environment where communication wasn't always calm or safe, where tone shifted quickly, where a call from someone meant bad news, where saying the wrong thing led to criticism or tension. You don't have to consciously remember that for your body to remember it. Your brain is a pattern detection machine. If unpredictability once meant emotional risk, your system adapts. It starts scanning for ways to reduce that risk. Avoiding phone calls becomes one of those ways. Quiet, subtle, socially acceptable. Most people assume call avoidance is about shyness, but often it's not about confidence at all. It's about exposure. On a call, your voice is your presence. There's no carefully curated paragraph, no time buffer. The other person can hear hesitation. They can interrupt. They can respond instantly. You lose control over timing. And for someone who feels safest when they can think before they speak, that loss of control feels like standing on a stage without a script. Imagine being handed a microphone and told, just say something meaningful. Now. Some people thrive in that. Others feel their stomach drop. There's also the emotional immediacy. If someone sounds disappointed, you feel it right away. If they're upset, you hear it in their tone. There's no delay to emotionally prepare yourself. You can't read the message first and brace for impact. You're in it. For people who are highly empathetic or who tend to absorb other people's emotions deeply, that immediacy can be overwhelming. It's like standing too close to a speaker at a concert. The volume hits you full force. Texting lowers the volume. Then there's the people-pleasing layer. Let's be honest, saying no is harder in real time. When someone is waiting for your answer, silence stretches. You feel their anticipation. Their reaction lands instantly. Over text, you can craft your boundary. You can phrase it gently. You can take a breath before sending it. On a call, you might feel trapped between honesty and harmony, so you avoid the stage altogether. There's also identity wrapped up in this. Maybe you see yourself as someone who needs time to think, someone who values depth over small talk, someone who doesn't enjoy surface level chatter like just checking in or what are you up to for no specific reason. Spontaneous social energy can feel like a demand rather than a connection. And in a world dominated by messaging apps, call avoidance can hide easily. You can maintain relationships almost entirely through text. You could appear responsive, thoughtful, engaged, which means the deeper pattern never gets examined. But here's the part I find fascinating. People who avoid phone calls often care deeply about the quality of interaction. They don't want to say something they don't mean. They don't want to respond carelessly. They want to show up well. There's caution there, not indifference. Over time, though, that caution can harden into identity. I'm bad at phone calls. I'm awkward on the phone. I just hate talking. But what if that label is too shallow? What if underneath it is simply a nervous system that learned to prioritize control, predictability, and emotional safety? Think about it this way. If your brain learned that careful communication reduces conflict, reduces rejection, reduces misunderstanding, then of course it prefers the format that allows maximum editing power. It's efficient. It's protective. Avoiding phone calls might be less about weakness and more about strategy. Now, that doesn't mean the strategy is always helpful. Sometimes it limits spontaneity. Sometimes it creates distance. Sometimes it reinforces the idea that real-time connection is dangerous. But when you understand why you do something, the shame around it softens. Instead of thinking, "What's wrong with me?" you start asking, "What is my brain trying to protect me from?" That question changes everything because self-awareness isn't loud. It's not dramatic. It doesn't look like a cinematic breakthrough. It's quieter than that. It's the moment you notice your chest tighten when the phone rings, and instead of judging yourself, you get curious. It's the moment you realize that your avoidance isn't random. It's patterned. It has roots. Some people avoid calls because they fear confrontation, some because they fear awkward silence, some because they fear emotional intensity, some because they never fully felt safe being heard in real time. Different stories, same behavior, and when you trace your story back, not to blame, but to understand, you gain something powerful. Choice. Maybe you still prefer texting most of the time. That's fine. Preference is real, but now it's conscious, not automatic. Maybe you experiment with answering one unexpected call and observe your body instead of fighting it. Maybe you notice that the dread passes faster than you expected. Or maybe you simply accept that your need for space before responding is part of how you process the world. Understanding yourself doesn't mean forcing yourself to become someone else. It means seeing the hidden logic behind your habits. The next time your phone lights up and you feel that subtle spike of tension, pause for a second, not to answer immediately, not to prove anything, just to notice. What am I protecting right now? Control? Emotional energy? The fear of being misunderstood? That awareness alone shifts the experience. It transforms a reflex into information. And information is empowering because the truth is, avoiding phone calls was never about disliking people. It was about managing conversations that felt harder to manage. It was about staying steady in moments that once felt destabilizing. Once you see that, it stops being a flaw in your personality. It becomes a window into how you learn to communicate. And the more you understand that, the less you have to fight yourself. If any of this felt uncomfortably familiar, you're not alone. Human behavior is layered, subtle, quietly protective. Sometimes the smallest habits reveal the deepest patterns, and sometimes simply understanding why you do something softens the tension around it. If this resonated with you, I'd love to hear your experience. Do you avoid phone calls? And if so, what do you think your brain is trying to protect? Reflecting on it might reveal more than you expect. And if you're curious about the hidden psychology behind other everyday behaviors, stay with me. Because understanding yourself is rarely loud, but it's always revealing